The new bipartisan infrastructure law promises to fix a lot of the country's transportation issues, from mass transit to highways and bridges right here in our state.
But as Joe St. George shows us, the law passed by Congress doesn't guarantee that federal money will come. In many cases, local and state governments will have to produce some of the cash to get access to the big pot.
At first glance, these may be some of the most picturesque train tracks in the entire country. And you may also think the trains that run here have no impact on your life.
1 in every 10 cars sold in the United States comes along this track.
Well, Sharon Humphreys is here to tell you why you're wrong. She's a civil engineer in San Diego County, California, and says when she looks at these tracks, she doesn't see the beautiful Pacific Ocean. She sees a disaster waiting to happen.
The ocean, the wave action, the rain is eroding the cliffs next to the track.
Humphreys estimates the cliff is losing about 1 to 2 feet a year, and while they're currently stabilized and safe, the inevitable will happen.
So we're going to be moving these tracks off of the bluff.
You might think it's easy for local governments to just move these tracks. After all, these cliffs are posing a risk. And Congress did pass an infrastructure law, right? Well, not so fast.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money.
Hassan Igrada is the CEO of SANDAG, a government organization that oversees transportation projects in this part of the country. He says it will cost billions to create a new tunnel and move the tracks inland. And while the new infrastructure law will likely provide some funding, in order to get the money, his region will need to come up with some of the cash too.
I have not heard of one single project that was fully funded by the federal government.
So what does that mean? It means local and state governments around the U.S. will need to use their own money, too, to get big infrastructure projects done. And if leaders don't have it, new elections or political debates will need to take place to increase things like sales taxes.
We're going to the voters. If they say nay, none of this will happen.
Everywhere in the country, though, there are critics of tax hikes.
The voters have been deceived.
Carl DeMeo with Reform California is the local critic here. He says voters nationwide aren't just going to give their local leaders a blank check without explaining where past tax hikes have gone. Transparency is needed. Hassan says big projects are needed. In Del Mar, California, I'm Joe St. George.